welcome back to another episode of jPlay. I'm Marcus, and as you can see it, I will start my playthrough series about Firefly, based on the same series by Whedon, which got cancelled way too soon. I was really sad. Luckily, some guys at Gate Force 9 decided it would be a good idea to do a board game about this great show. Normally I'm pretty skeptic when I see footage from the movie on a board game. I really got disappointed quite often when I saw that, but I remembered, hey, these guys did a very good job with Spartacus, so I think I was still looking forward to that, and what can I say, I was not disappointed. Basically, I will do a solo mission today. Normally this game plays best with 3 players, that's my take on this. You can play it with 2 or 4, but I think the best ratio would be 3 players. That's really, again, my personal opinion, because the downtime is low, but you still have someone to interact with. Interaction is not that high in that game, but it's there. For example, you can send the Reaver Cutters to someone or the Alliance Cruiser in the moment where they basically need it the least, which we did several times in our former games with this, our plays with this really cool game here. I think I will just dive into the gameplay today, so no real need to explain this game, which is very cool. It's very slick, you can get into the game or into the game mechanics pretty soon. Of course, in respect to tactics, that's definitely something you have to learn. Where should I start and which missions are best, what can I do with what can I expect from the misbehave card and that, but this is again a learning curve basically with every game. So I think let's just get started. I'm really looking forward to that, hope you too. Yeah, and this is actually the main game mode of Firefly. This time I will do it a little bit differently. Normally I explain some of the core rules in advance, I show you some of the components, but I think this time, in this game, this is not really necessary. I think I will just go ahead and play some rounds so that basically you get an idea. I decided to start this game at Persephone, and this has basically one main reason. For once there's a contract already present, namely Badger here. And also we are directly at Persephone, and at Persephone there is a nice little item deck which we can do some buying action. This is my starting crew, and this is very special to the solo playthrough. Normally you're only having one captain at the beginning of the game, and I decided to go with Marco, and that's the reason why. Normally, of course, I should have used Malcolm, but as Marco has this nice little transport feat over there, which helps you really greatly through going through some of the misbehaved decks, I decided to go with Marco. I really have good experiences with him from former plays. And the solo play rules allow you to draw up to 4 characters from your very start point, but you also have a limit in respect to, I think, the total amount of cost for this crew must not exceed $1,000, and this is the case here. So I'm going with Kaylee. I'm taking Inera because she's doing this whole diplomacy stuff. Wash is a very good pilot, definitely something someone we need, and I also decided to go with a Mad Staff, so to have someone who will repair my crew. This is my starting ship, and the ships are all the same, at least at the very start, only the name is different. So this is the Yunki. The yellow ship here, basically they're all Fireflies. We all start the game with 2 parts and 6 fuels, and this main drive core here, which allows you to have at a full burn range to go up to 5 spaces. We also have $3,000 in cash, and these disgruntled tokens, these are 20, will represent the time. So whenever this pile runs out, then there will be one last round in which I'm not allowed to actually move, and until then I have to achieve my goal for the solo play. And I think let's head over to the story card. And the solo play story card comes with 3 goals, what you see here. So we have 1 goal where you are the good, where you have to end the game with being soloed with 5 different contacts, so basically everyone on the board. Not very easy, because especially Niska is a very tough guy to deal with. Then we have this goal 2, the bad, crime does pay, and the game with $15,000 or more. And the goal 3, this is the ugly, no rest for the wicked, successfully proceed past 20 or more misbehave cards. And I think I will just go here with go to the bat. So I will try to end the game with at least $15,000 in cash. The solo game turn is also a little bit different in respect to the multiplayer game. Normally you would have 2 actions in a round, and in this solo game you can do up to 4 actions. But whenever you do a move action, you have to give away one of these disgruntled tokens over here. So let me show them to you once more. And again, when you run out of these disgruntled tokens, you will no longer be able to move. And then you have one final round to try to achieve your goal. The last thing to do is to draw 5 of these contact cards, so 1 from each deck, and these will be our starting jobs, or basically we have to choose 3 of them, and this is something I will do right now. And I decided to take these 3 starting jobs basically, and that's because the job from Haken will bring me here to New Melbourne. Badger wants me to misbehave a little bit down here at St. Albans. And this guy has a very nasty job for me here at the Space Bazaar. Right now I still have these cards in my hand, and note I'm not allowed to have more than 3 cards on my hand, and additionally I'm only allowed to have 3 active jobs. The good thing about inactive jobs is you can basically discard them whenever you draw a new job that might be better for you. Once they're active, it's not so easy. You can only more or less get rid of them by once completing them, or by getting a warrant on these jobs. So basically you fail really dramatically at those. Basically this only happens at some of the illegal jobs. This is something you see here at the top right of these contact cards. So of course Haken only gives you legal jobs, whereas Badger, this little crook here, will more or less give you only illegal jobs. At least that's what I think. For each of the supply decks we will now reveal the top 3 cards, and this is now the discard pile. And the discard pile is good in this case because you can go through this discard pile basically anytime through the game, and when you decide to buy something at one location here, you can then either take cards from the discard pile, and when there is nothing really of interest in there, you can still draw back from the normal draw pile. And then we can actually start playing the game. So a game round normally provides you 4 different actions. You can either fly, you can buy, you can deal, or you can work. I already mentioned it, in a multiplayer game you only are allowed to do 2 of these actions, and you're never allowed to do 1 action twice. So you cannot use the fly action twice in 1 turn. In the solo play you can take up to 4 actions, so basically all of them you can do once during your turn. But once you decide to fly or to travel, move, whatever you call it, then you would end your game turn basically, and then you would have to discard one of these disgruntled tokens, meaning you're coming closer to the end of the game. I think first of all I want to do a buy action at Persephone. And a buy action basically is very simple, so you can consider 3 and then you can buy 2 of those 3. Then you can do any combination. You can take all 3 cards from the discard pile to consider. You can take 1 card from the discard pile and 2 from the draw deck, but again you will have to decide for either 2 or even none if you don't like any of those cards. And this is what I do in this turn here. So for once I will consider this hacking rig from the discard pile at Persephone, and then I will draw up 2 additional cards. And wow, this is really cool. So I have now the fancy dots here, so the cool little hat from Badger. I will have the hacking rig, and I can go with this crybaby over here. The crybaby will help me a little bit when trying to evade the Alliance cruiser. And of course the fancy dots and the hat and this hacking rig here is quite expensive. I do have 3,000 credits or dollars, but I think I will be careful. I'm pretty sure I will need this hacking rig because none of my team leads has something like that. Inara has the fancy dots trait already, so I think I don't need this hat. So yeah, let's go for just the hacking rig. So we'll pay $1,000, and hey, when have you seen the last time a game with actual money? And I really like that. So we will take this hacking rig now. And I think I will assign this hacking rig to wash. You don't have to do that right now, but normally when I play this game, I will assign the equipment basically as soon as possible so that I don't have to change it anytime I go on a mission. And this is very important because when going on a mission, each team member can only carry one item. At least in most cases. There are of course 1 or 2 exceptions to that rule. The remaining 2 cards go back to the discard pile, so I can go for those later turn. Of course, in a multiplayer game, this is also great for bringing some new items to the market. So whatever I'm not going to buy here, I make available to everyone else in a multiplayer game. Additionally, I think I will pay 200 credits more and I will refuel my ship a little bit. So I will take 2 additional fuel cells with me, or fuel canisters with me. So that gives me 300 back. And I think this concludes my buy action. Now I could deal with Badger. But to be honest, I'm pretty happy with my jobs and I'm already at my limit of 3 jobs on my hands. So I think I will not do that. I'm not solid with Badger, so I cannot sell him any goods or contraband, which I don't have, by the way. And I could now either go on a work action or I could go for a fly action. Of course, I will now go for a work action, even though I don't have any real jobs to do here at Persephone. But whenever I'm at a planet, I can go for basically a normal work action. I think this is basically something hanging around, doing some garden work or whatever. And therefore, you would gain 200 bucks, and of course this is what I'm going to do. Of course, if I wouldn't do that here, then I would not, or if I take these 200 bucks, I would not be able to do another job at the same location here. But as I'm not doing any jobs at Persephone, I'm fine here. And I think now I will take my move actions. You have basically 2 modes of move in Firefly. For once you could go for a full burn, and this would allow you to move up to the range of your current drive core. In my case, this is drive core with a range of 5, but luckily I have Wash with me who would allow me to gain +1 to full burn range, so I could go up to 6 spaces. The second mode of moving is the mosey, and with a mosey you can just go to the basically adjacent sector. And the good thing about that is you don't have to draw any events cards when doing that. When going for a full burn, you would have, for each space, you would have to draw a corresponding event card. Additionally, for each full burn, you would have to give away one of these fuel tanks here. So, and this is what I'm going to do. So I will do a full burn, which would allow me to move up to 6 spaces because of Wash. My first target is Bernadette here, where I can start a new job basically. So let's go for our full burn. So we will move our first space here, and there we will draw our first event card. And this just says the big black, keep flying. Let's move the second space. And there we have the cruiser patrol. Player to your right must move Alliance cruiser 1 sector within Alliance sector space. Right now I'm not having any troubles with the Alliance, but still I don't want to have it too close to me. This can change, so I will move it back from me. There is no player to my right. Let's move the third space, and again this is the big black. And then the fourth space we will come to Bernadette, and this says the big black, keep flying, so nothing really bad happened to my travel to Bernadette. But this also means the first turn is already over, and then we start a new round here at Bernadette. First thing I will do is to start my very first job. And this is the job from Harkin, and this says Settlers to New Melbourne. Let's have a closer look at this job card here. This is a transport mission, though in a transport mission you normally have a pickup location and a drop-off location. It tells you if it's a legal job. Sometimes you have a requirement, so in this case there is no requirement, and of course there is a reward at the bottom right of the card. Sometimes there is a bonus on the left bottom side, but in this case that's not the case. So this is a pretty straightforward job, and as we are right now at Bernadette, we are now allowed to load 2 passengers and 1 cargo, and this is what I'm going to do. So we have 1 passenger, oh no, that's 2 passengers and 1 cargo, my bad here. So 2 passengers and 1 cargo. In this case, if I ever happen to lose one or all of these passengers or the cargo, then I'm responsible to basically gain new passengers on my own. There are some possibilities throughout the game, especially I think at Amundul, down by the Space Bazaar, to get new passengers, and cargo you get sometimes when flying through the space, through the verse here. But right now I'm really hoping not to lose any of those tokens. The problem is, right now I cannot do any more things at Bernadette. I'm already taking my work action, so I'm not allowed to draw an additional 200 bucks here. So I think the only thing that's left to do is going for a full view burn again. And our destination is here down at New Melbourne, so that's a pretty tough distance here, but I think I should be able to go there anytime. Yeah, I think this should be possible. Let's start with the first card. So this is now the big black. Second space, let's see, another big black, keep flying. Then we come to our third space here, and this would be again the cruiser patrol, and I think I will just move him down there. My fourth movement will bring me here to the Space Bazaar. This time I have to draw from the other deck, from the border space deck. It's also the big black, keep flying. My fifth movement here will also bring me there, and this is now a real event. And this is now Nav Hazard Asteroid. We have now two options here. For once we could go for the first option, but you can only choose this option if we have a pilot. If you have a pilot, keep flying. In this case, again, we are lucky, as we have Wash with us, who is apparently a pilot. If we wouldn't have a pilot, we could still go with this option B here, basically telling us spend one fuel, keep flying, or we could take the long way around, and this would say a full stop, so our movement would end here. As we have a pilot, we can move ahead, and then we take the sixth movement action into New Melbourne. We will draw our event card, and this says Scrapper Ambush. We have again two options. So one would be slip the net, so we would have to roll a test here against our mechanic value. I think this shouldn't be a problem. Or we could take an head on, and this would say salvage ops, but then we would need a load of firepower, which we do not have. So I think we will go with the first option here, slip the net. And this is now how the tests actually work. So in any test you give the target, in this case this is a 5. And then you would be, for once, able to count all of your symbols that match the test. So in this case, this would be this little tool icon here. So we would have a lone 3 for Kaylee, 1 for our captain, that's already 4, and then 2 additionals for Wash and the Mad Staff. So in this case, we do not have to roll the dice anyhow, because we would just normally roll a die, we would add our symbols to that. In this case this would be a result of 10, and as we only needed a 5 here, we made it through this Scrapper Ambush test. In this case it says keep flying. I'm already at my location, so I don't have any additional benefit out of this test. But at least we reached our final destination here at New Melbourne. But first of all, we have to get rid of one additional disgruntled token. New round, and again we will take our work action at New Melbourne. So, and this at the drop-off location, here we see that at New Melbourne we have to deliver 2 passengers and 1 cargo. Of course, they don't have to be the same tokens, it's just the total amount of tokens which you have to deliver. So in this case the passengers more or less made it safely through the Alliance space and also the border space. But one last thing to do. This is of course discarding our tokens here, so we brought them safely to New Melbourne here, and this would give us 900 bucks. We can now take this mission card from Harkin in this case, and we will move it below our player board here basically, and this just says that we are solid with Harkin. And then we can use his special ability from the backside of all of these contact cards. Harkin is not that cool basically. It says when solid with Harkin you may ignore the customs inspection nav card. Okay, this is not too bad, this happens from time to time, but we are also allowed to buy fuel at the Alliance cruiser for the normal 100 bucks. In total, not really great, but at least we have earned our first money. Again, there's nothing left to do at New Melbourne, so again we have to take a move action here, and this means that we have to discard another disgruntled token. We are already down to 17. And then we will mosey down here to St. Albans because there's another sweet little mission waiting from us, this time from Badger, and this says withdraw from the first bank and trust. As you can see, that's an illegal job. There's only one target here because basically we are doing a withdrawal from a bank, of course, and this says we have to misbehave first. So in this case we have to draw 2 of these misbehave cards, and afterwards we have to crack the safe to get paid, and this is something we have to do on the right side here. But as you can see, this is only a mechanic test of 6, and I think we should be able to do that. In this case there is a soldier bonus. Unfortunately we don't have any soldier with us, so we don't get any additional cash here for this job. The next thing to do is to assign our crew to the job, and I think basically there's no reason not to take everyone with us, so all the 5 guys are coming with us. Now would be the official time to assign the objects, but I already did that, so Wash will carry the security interface pad here. And then we will draw our very first misbehave card. And this card says the Sheriff's Justice. And as in the event cards, in most cases you have 2 options. The first option here would be a hard man to sway, and this is a diplomacy check. The second option would be an hell followed with him, would be a fight check. But in most cases you have a joker basically at the bottom of the deck, and it says if you have a companion you proceed. And guess what? Yes, we have lovely Inara with us, who is a companion. So in this case, we already completed our very first misbehave card. You can never voluntarily botch an attempt or basically shut down an attempt. You really have to go through all the cards that are requested. This job, remember, you requires us to only have 2 of those cards. So let's see what the second one is, and this says the local law. The first thing would be money talks. This is a bribe test, and the second option would be guns a-blazing. As we are not really that good in melee or any other kind of combat, I think we have to focus on the option A, which says money talks. Again, we would have to sum up all of our diplomacy abilities here. In this case, we have 3 from Inara, 1 from Roche, so that brings us up to 4. In order to make this test, we have to roll at least an 11. That's very difficult with only 1 die. Of course, there is one thing I have to explain you. So these dice can explode. So whenever you roll the Firefly symbol, you can roll the die a second time. We'll just add the second roll to the first roll. And if it's another one of these Fireflies, you will add that up and so on. But of course, the odds are not that good. But luckily, the local law accepts bribes here. So for any 100 we are paying now, we basically can add 1 to our diplomacy attribute in this case. So we are at 4. Basically we need to go up to 10 because we still can roll a die, so we'd need 1 additional. So if we would pay now 600 bucks, this would be sufficient, and I think the risk is very high, so I think I will just pay the $600 here. Then we are at 10. Let's roll our Firefly die, and this is a 5, so this means we are at 15 because 4 from our basic diplomacy skill, 600 from the 6 from the bribes, plus these 5 are basically 15, and it says with 11 plus you have proceed this test. This also says we have more or less solved the very first step of this illegal job over here. So we misbehaved 2 times successfully. That's important to mention. And now we have to crack the safe to get paid. we have to roll a 6. You remember we have 6 mechanic tokens anyhow, so basically we cannot fail at this test, which also means we would gain now $4,000 for this job. But not so fast. Of course, our crew wants their cut too. And this comes back now to the prices that you see at the bottom right of the card. For once, it's the price to actually hire these crew, but it's also the price or the amount of the cut they want to have when you do successful jobs. So in this case, I would have to pay $1,000 in order to satisfy these guys. To be honest, I really want to keep these 3 guys here. So I think I will really pay them the $800. I'm not so sure if I want to pay the med staff their cut or his cut. And I think I'm not going to do that. This means that this med staff now gets a disgruntled token. For once, this means if he would ever get his second disgruntled token, he would leave me instantly. And also, but this is only important for a multiplayer game, whenever one crew has a disgruntled token on him, he could be hired by another player when meeting in deep space sometime. Luckily, there is no other player, so at least one risk is down. Of course, I can get rid of these disgruntled tokens by taking a shore leave, but to be honest, I'm not so sure if I will do that. Now I still have to pay $800 for the other crew. The captain never wants to have a cut. He's basically self-employed, which means I'm still getting $3,200. And I just noticed I forgot to give the crew the cut for this last job, Settlers to New Melbourne. Basically, really, I haven't given them any cuts, so this means technically all of them already had a disgruntled token. Of course, this includes our doctor here. And this also means I wouldn't have given him the disgruntled token because I really want to keep him. So he just has this one disgruntled token, and instead I now give $200 back to the bank, and then I should be fine. There is nothing else left to do here at St. Albans, so again I will pay 1 fuel to take a full burn. So we will go to Greenleaf, there we will draw our next card, and then we will go to the Space Bazaar, and there it says Reavers on the hunt, player to your right must move Reaver Cutter 1 sector within border space, so let's do that. And in a solo game, the Reavers are never cool, so I will move them away as much as I can. Of course, I have to spend 1 further disgruntled token. And I think I will end my playthrough here. So we are now at a very good position for once to start a new job, this time for Niska at the Space Bazaar. For once, then we could deal with Amnon Duel to get us some more jobs, which is pretty important now. And we could take a buy action at the Space Bazaar to upgrade our ship or our gear, and of course to refuel our ship as well. I really hope you liked it so far, and I really hope to see you soon in my next episode of my playthrough of Firefly. And until then, bye bye.